When you look at the role of federal government, it should really be about partnering with state and local government to build the communities that we want to live in.
Minnetonka's Jon Tollefson is running for Congress in Congressional District 3. We're going to meet him. This is Democratic Visions. Here's Tim O'Brien.
Jon Tollefson grew up in Hopkins and Minnetonka. Jon calls Minnetonka home, but he's actually lived and worked in Washington, D.C., Nigeria, and Mexico. Jon's running for Congress. Jon, welcome to Democratic Visions.
Thanks so much, Tim. It's good to be here.
Jon, as of today, February 24, you're the only announced candidate planning and hoping to get the DFL endorsement to run against Republican Erik Paulsen. Now, there may be others, but you're the first one out of the gate. That endorsement could occur on May 14 when the 3rd Congressional District holds its convention in Osseo. In the meantime, you'll be campaigning at Senate District meetings and conventions in the 3rd Congressional District. What are you going to tell them?
Well, Tim, I've been out to several Senate District meetings already, and I'm going to be at all of them by the end of the convention season. And what we're talking about is restoring our values, true Minnesota values, in our representation in Washington. A lot of people have trusted in Erik Paulsen to serve our needs and to represent us in Washington. But as we look at his record, as we understand more about where he stands on issues, we're starting to realize that he's just not standing with us when we need him to be standing with us. And so we're talking at the Senate district level, all throughout the DFL, and with folks who aren't as active in political parties, who just want good representation in Washington. We're talking about issues with higher education, issues with Medicare and Social Security, protecting that so that it's there for the long run. National security, a lot of people are scared with what's going on in the world right now. And I bring that experience with my foreign service background and really want to make sure that we're addressing the needs that need to be addressed in Washington, not just these partisan games that go back and forth and really lead to nothing happening.
Well, the 3rd District stretches from Bloomington to Champlin. We have people that need help, we've got a middle class, and yeah, we have some privileged people in the district too. Now, on the positive side, Obama carried the 3rd Congressional District twice, and I believe it's trending blue, but it's not there yet. On the negative side, Erik Paulsen's got a $2 million war chest, and he's been waxing Democrats that have run against them. So weigh positives against the negatives and tell me how you're going to accomplish what you're setting out to do.
Well, as you said, President Obama won this district both times he ran here. The voters of the 3rd District are largely independent, but they are not at all the conservative type of people that we would see supporting Donald Trump, for example, or Ted Cruz or Marco Rubio. What we're going to do is connect with voters on the issues that matter to them most. So we're going to look at health care and education, higher education, transportation, national security, and we're going to help display that contrast between what Republicans in Congress, including Erik Paulsen, are trying to do and what we need done for us here in the community. We're going to be talking with all of the different diverse populations within the district. The demographics have changed over the last 10 years, significantly so since the time that Erik Paulsen was first elected. We have a wonderful group of people here who have core values that we all share. Integrity, hard work, and as part of that, we expect the government to do what we need done in an efficient, effective way, and without all this frivolous partisan rancor that we see happening. Really, government should be very simple, getting the job done, making key investments where we need them so that we can grow our economy and build the communities that we want to live in.
I want to touch on one of the points that you mentioned there, Jon, and that is that you described the constituency of the 3rd District as being a lot of independent voters. And it's sort of ironic that when Erik Paulsen first ran for office, he ran as an independent Republican, and now and then you'd hear him say, you know, I'm an independent. Well, I looked up the numbers, and he's voted like 96% lockstep with the Republican Party. Do you think he'd be able to drive that point home?
Absolutely, and when voters hear that, they are turned off by Erik Paulsen. I mean, if you went down the list, you would have Michelle Bachmann and Erik Paulsen just check, 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 all the way down the list. Erik Paulsen is not a moderate. He tries to come off as this way, and he kind of follows the old mantra of keep your head down, stick around. But in turn, he doesn't get much done for us. And because he's keeping his head down, he's not working on the issues that we need him to be working on. He's not really moving the ball forward for any of us in any significant way. So what we need to discuss here is how our independent values in the 3rd District don't coincide with the far right wing of the Republican Party that he seems to be aligned with now. He just endorsed Marco Rubio the other day, the Koch brothers, their main political advisor.
That's Marco Rubio, who said that he wouldn't approve any appointment to the Supreme Court unless that person turned over the Marriage Equality Act?
That's exactly right. He said that on Meet the Press just a couple months ago.
Wow.
That he would not nominate or support any Supreme Court nominee unless they were to overturn marriage equality throughout the country. He's just not in line with the values of the 3rd District.
And that's the message you're going to be bringing out to the voters in the 3rd District?
That's right. And it's also important for us to talk about how we are standing for something and we want to move the country forward, move our community forward. And so I won't just be focusing on the current congressman and his values, because a lot of people in the district don't want to just hear about how he's hurting us or not moving the country forward. They want to see a vision that has that in mind. As someone who has been in government, worked in the Foreign Service, worked here on policy issues in healthcare and economic development, I have a strong vision for our community, and I want to see that done.
You know, you came back from the Foreign Service and went to work in Minnesota as an advocate for various organizations. What did you learn from that work, and how can you make that of assistance going forward if you get elected?
Well, after I served in the Foreign Service in Nigeria and Mexico and in Washington, D.C. in the Africa Bureau, where I worked on Somali affairs and public diplomacy, which was particularly interesting for me because of the Somali community that's here in the Twin Cities. I actually got to lead several trips back here to the Twin Cities for the State Department doing political outreach. And when I left the Foreign Service, my last assignment was in Mexico City. And I returned here to work for Margaret Anderson Kelleher, who was a former Speaker of the House and ran for governor.
Clean Tech?
That's right. It was the Minnesota High Tech Association. We did economic development work for Minnesota around science and technology. And that included education for STEM studies, science, technology, engineering, and math, as well as investing in internships for science and technology students studying at Minnesota colleges and universities to hook them up with small science and technology businesses in Minnesota through a very innovative internship program. And we worked on actually helping startup companies in technology to grow right here in Minnesota, because that's where we really find job growth for our economy. You know, we haven't had an IPO for quite some time in Minnesota, and this is how it happens. You have companies starting up that we all kind of band together into support, and then they grow from one person to 3 people, all the way up to 20,000.
Then they're out of the garage and looking for an office
Exactly,
space.
That's right. And then they're really a solid part of our economy. That's how so many of our companies have grown up in Minnesota. And then now I work for the Minnesota Nurses Association, where we work on ensuring that all Minnesotans have access to affordable health care so that patients receive care when they need it without regard to whether or not they can afford to pay the bill at the end of the day. And that's not just for people who are on medical assistance. That's for all of us. We all are seeing our premiums go up. We have higher deductibles, higher out-of-pocket costs, and it's really spiraling in the wrong direction. We need to get costs under control. And there are a number of ways that we're working on that at the Nurses Association.
Do you see any specific ideas that you could bring forward to address the income inequality situation we find ourselves in right now?
Well, we need to start by making strong investments in early childhood education, in K-12 education, and in higher education. Everyone needs to have an opportunity and access to succeed at each of those levels. We can't settle for anything less than that. There is no greater investment we could make in our economy, in our society, than with strong education investment. You know, a lot of folks who are even on the conservative side support education in extraordinary ways. After World War II, when the government came in and said, we're going to make a strong investment in higher education, and people like my grandparents had access to education for the first time.
Off.
It just grew in tremendous levels. And those are the investments we need to be making in our society and in our economy to see that growth happen so that all of us rise. As many have said before us, including Paul Wellstone, we all do better when we all do better. And when we make these investments, we rise.
Jon, let's do a little projection here. You won. You're in Washington, D.C. First day in office. What are you looking forward to? What issue or issues are going to be at the top of the heap?
Well, on my first day in Congress, I look forward to voting for a Democratic Speaker of the House so that we don't have any 2 more years with Paul Ryan or anyone else from that caucus. You know, we need to get to work on improving health care for all Americans and for everyone in our community. We need to work on getting transportation that actually moves people around, picks them up where they are, gets them to where they need to be, and then back home again. We can build these systems that serve all of us for transportation, whether it's Southwest Light Rail Line, the light rail line up to Brooklyn Park and Brooklyn Center, and we can make these investments in ways that increase property value, increase development within our communities, where we can walk around, have mobility without relying on cars. When you look at the role of federal government, it should really be about partnering with state and local government to build the communities that we want to live in.
So, Jon, tell me, what do you like about the 3rd Congressional District?
Well, Tim, to me it's about wonderful economic and cultural vibrancy of the Twin Cities. Plus we have the outdoors. We have the woods and the lakes, and people can play outside or be outside and enjoy nature in all 4 seasons. I love hanging out in Excelsior, going down to Maynard's for a burger. My grandma used to take the streetcar out to Hopkins for a movie at the theater, and then all the way out to Excelsior and go to the amusement park that was out there.
Go to Dance Land?
That's right, yeah. And we just have this wonderful place to live and to play and to be with our family and friends. And my dad keeps his fish house out on Lake Minnetonka, and so we go out there in January and February and play cards and fish.
And do whatever else is done in those fish
Yeah,
houses.
it's not really about the fishing
Tell
so much.
stories.
Yeah.
Well, Jon, now, if we can flip, that is, change 30 Republican seats into 30 Democratic seats, we can take over Congress for the Democrats again, and the country will be well along in its goals and aspirations. Jon, I hope you're one of those 30. Thanks for stopping by.
Thanks so much, Tim. It's great to talk to you.
Democratic Visions is independently crafted by volunteers, mostly Democrats, from Eden Prairie, Minnetonka, Edina, and Bloomington.